Ever feel like you're trying to find your way in a world that's just full of noise? Well, today we're diving into some powerful answers from the renowned scholar Habib Omar bin Hafiz from a major talk he gave in Jordan. Let's get right into it. Right from the start, you can just feel the atmosphere. Before he even said a word, this beautiful line of poetry was recited to welcome him. It really sets the tone, you know? This wasn't just another lecture. It was a gathering filled with love and deep respect. So, picture this. You've got this deeply respected scholar standing in front of this huge crowd, and he's there to tackle the big questions. Like, how do you hold on to your faith? How do you find your purpose when the world is constantly pulling you in a million different directions at once? So, where does he start with such a huge topic? He goes right to the end. He starts by talking about the two ultimate destinies, laying out the absolute highest stakes of our spiritual journey. And this is the core choice he lays out. It's not just about, good place versus bad place. It's so much deeper. It's about connection versus separation. One path leads to actually seeing God's face, to receiving divine pleasure. The other, well, it leads to the ultimate pain of being veiled, of being cut off from that presence. This contrast is the foundation for everything else he's going to say. And then, to really hammer home just how urgent this is, he gives just one number, 70. That's it. He points out that for most of us, our lifespan is going to be somewhere between 60 and 70 years. And when you put that tiny little number up against eternity, you realize the time we have to make this choice is unbelievably short. Okay, so if our time is so short, what's the biggest thing getting in our way? He says it's what he calls the deception of worldly life. This is his powerful critique of how modern materialism just makes us completely forget what actually matters. And he does not hold back at all. He basically says that when a society is only chasing material progress, it can lose its moral compass completely. And for him, the most chilling proof is seeing our incredible modern technology being used for pure destruction. It's a sign that our priorities are just completely backward. And this leads to his main diagnosis, which is such a powerful idea. The material world is supposed to be a tool for us, something we use for a higher purpose. But instead, he argues, we've become its slaves. We think we're in control, but really, the world is using us. Now, this idea he's critiquing has a specific name you've probably heard, dunya. And it doesn't just mean the world in a general sense. It specifically refers to the temporal world, everything that's temporary, fleeting, the stuff that glitters but will eventually just vanish. And that's the trap he's warning us about. Okay, so he's diagnosed the problem, this trap of the dunya, but he doesn't just leave us there. He offers a very clear way out. The solution, he says, is all about reconnecting to the divine through what he calls the prophet as guiding light. The main idea here is that God's grace and blessings aren't just scattered around randomly for us to find. Instead, they flow to humanity through one main channel. He describes the Prophet Muhammad as that essential connection point. He's the door through which all spiritual good enters our world. And this isn't just some abstract concept. He describes it as a living, breathing, spiritual chain. It starts with God, who is the ultimate source of everything. That grace is channeled through the prophet. Then, it's preserved and passed down by righteous scholars who act like transmitters, making sure that light actually reaches the rest of us in the community. And to give you a sense of just how profound the prophet's spiritual station is, he shares this incredibly humbling quote from an early follower. They said, "We only knew the shadow of the messenger of God." I mean, think about that. The implication is staggering. If the people closest to him felt they only saw his shadow, it just shows you how immense the light he was channeling truly was. So, what does all of this mean for us in our day-to-day lives? The final piece of his message ties it all together. He calls it the path of love, and it's all about turning these huge ideas into a practical guide for how to actually live. In the end, the path he lays out is really about a fundamental shift in how we see everything. It's about recognizing that real wealth is spiritual, not material. And you get there by consciously changing your priorities, choosing love for God over attachment to stuff, seeking out good company instead of isolation, and always focusing on your purpose over all the distractions. And so that leaves us with the one question that just cuts through everything else. It's the challenge at the very heart of his entire message. And it's a question for every single one of us to really think about. In a world that's constantly distracting you, what are you going to choose as your permanent reality?